Okay, so we are ready to do a short class, lesson 14 for this week. And next week, I will see you live again in class as we continue just throughout the second part of our first semester. And we'll be briefing as well. That's super important that we get together and brief for the formative to the podcasting, I'll arrange some lessons like lesson plans here and material on podcasting as well. But well, like we'll chat about it and we'll obviously work the kinks out that you do have in terms of questioning. All right, so today's lesson is, as I said, it's very short. It's a couple of slides, about 6 slides, and it's about the conversation of avoiding burnout. Right. I mean, it, we have to. I've got to start at the beginning in terms of like how we can contextualize and how we can place the concept of burnout very specifically and also separated from the generic assumption or induction or interpretation, whatever it is, of burnout. Creative burnout is something that happens very regularly with anyone in a creative business or a trade. Like, for example, our graphic designers and artists, our multimedia guys, us ourselves that work in craft-based areas, television, in radio, and where you're conceptualizing your like creative growth on a continuous daily, weekly, monthly basis, and it carries on and on and on. And so the thing is that you have to, I mean, for one, like you as a presenter, as a broadcaster, need to really get into the understanding and mood and mode of saying that you will never run out of an idea ever. So for the rest of your career, you must never be able to hit like a blank page and kind of use that as an obstacle. It is used against you, and then you get stuck, because you're gonna really struggle. If you take the assumption that once a creative, always a creative, and throughout again your entire career, like this is something that is part of your skill set that you bring forward, and obviously bring quality and value and so on and so forth to whatever product and whoever you are working for. It's going to take a lot of pressure off you, and to also accept, again, this is why I want to go into the fact that because you are a constant creative, like wherever you when you really get into um the like the just the flow of things, when you are a broadcaster, in particular for myself, it's going to take from obviously my experiences as an experienced broadcaster, doing it for again over 2 decades. For me, like once you get into the mode of doing a show, everything around you is content. So you leave work and you leave the station, you leave of a studio, and everything becomes content. You've got to be taught by someone, for example, like me, who's great at telling you what you could use as little life hacks, like creative hacks. And um you know, I was very lucky to be working with veteran presenters when I was a very young presenter, who would advise me and tell me in various ways, like how to really procreate a large, an infinite kind of like infinite amount of ideas, by simply looking at the world around you. I know that sounds very obvious because of what we've taught you, but there was a very a particular conversation that I had. I'll never forget it. Anyway, I was and I always have been, like I say, a very creative broadcaster. Had no problems creating content. Never have, you know. I've had some doozies where they just didn't work, whatever it may have been, but for the really large majority of the point of being able to pick out stuff that I knew my listeners would like and it suited them and it matched them, I was fairly like proficient in that. So I was doing a Friday show. I was doing my Friday 7 to 10 show, and this was while I was on 947, and this particular host who was coming to do the show after me, like it was a Friday night speciality show. This man specifically had been working in the industry for a much longer time than I had. He already had his moment in primetime shows, where I had then currently been in and had moved forward from then onwards. But like he said to me, like, how was the show? And I said, well, it's a Friday. I mean, it was good. It was good, but it was a Friday. And didn't really do much because, the assumption on Fridays, working at Prime Media, you're right across from the news cafe and the taboo and whatever it is. And you can see all like the kind of the business executives start parting from about 3:30, and you kind of build that kind of one-dimensional view of like, oh, these guys and women, that did the pitch up there and having a good time for the rest of the day, don't really want you know to be talking about anything in particular in terms of like a talk topic or listening to an interview or whatever it may be from a music-based station, especially and moving to like an evening slot, like you're in party mode, and if you are commuting and you all got the radio on or whatever it is, like you really don't want more than that. He said to me, oh, like, sure, I mean that makes sense, but like, how do you know for certain? And I said, what do you mean? Like, I mean, he says, and he said, like, you can see the people partying there, but you don't really know the full story. And the full story of what? Well, the full story of really what we teach you is like what they care about, what they're talking about, what they're obviously afraid of or happy about or stressing about or whatever it may be. And he said to me, just because I wasn't, there was a point where I just stopped like going out. I don't really enjoy it anymore. I had a really good run in terms of like being like very sociable. But he said to me, like, you need to actually go like across the street, like grab a drink, but sit on your own, like don't talk, which is very difficult for you, Chris. I get that, but don't talk and rather listen and observe and watch how people behave and what they're doing and saying and thinking, dressing like, giggling about whatever it may be. And you'd be very surprised as to how much more like there is happening in your listener's life. He said, "Don't stop there." It was great advice. I really like. I was so lucky again to work with some really great people. He said, "Don't stop there. Like do a stint on Sunday, but do a stint a Sunday afternoon at a different location. Like watch people on a Monday morning or a Monday afternoon. Look at what's happening in traffic. Like check the people's expressions. Going wherever there was activity, you know, keep quiet and observe and really like find that there is a world around you. That So this anecdote and why I'm telling you this is that from that moment in particular I saw content everywhere. And so whenever I because I knew I was going to reach creative burnout, and it happens very often where, let's say, a corporate executive or corporate worker, whatever it is, they will reach burnout perhaps maybe 2 or 3 times in their life, right? And it's a very big mental problem. Like you can actually be completely scored out. You can be seated. I mean, like you're benched. To use um, a sporting reference, if you don't come out of that constructively and have some assistance and know like strengths and weaknesses and how that works for you. But creative burnout is going to happen very often, and you got to have a way to survive through that, especially again by banking like ideas as you go along. Like a show really only constitutes about 3 or 4 creative ideas per 3 hours that you're going to go do. The rest will be quite generic or with teasers or competitions or promos or whatever it may be, right? But you have to develop content, and it'll only hit a certain ceiling and mark as you do a show. So the thing is, everything else that becomes a great idea, and that has merit in being able to do it, that doesn't have a time stamp necessarily, but a time stamp. Everything in life has a time stamp. anecdotal stuff can always be remarginalized and reconstructed to be relevant at any one time. You can kind of think of seasonal content, for example, like Christmas or Easter or New Year's or whatever it may be, or hitting winter or hitting summer. Like this is seasonal content that will have very repetitive, like generic ideas. But the thing is that they can work every summer if we can just like spice them up and change an angle or use them as springboards, whatever it may be, right? So for you to be able to understand that you don't completely break down, because the thing is the job requires you to constantly even throughout burnout, um like perform. You would bank and you would structure and you would like record interviews, and you would like I say, they would sit in a database for yourself where you can use them at a much later date whenever you are in a little bit of a creative crisis. So what happens to a like a creative, like when they do reach burnout, like you start complaining a lot more. You're gonna call in sick, like because you probably will get sick. Like your immune system will be on a very tight kind of like budget of resources of its own. Um, there, you come a little bit later for work just because you the concept of burnout is a psychological thing, and it also is burnout can be segregated into various things. There could be social burnout, there could be creative burnout, there could be psychological burnout, there could be like what do they call it, like a physio mental, so something that obviously is, it's a connection between obviously your bodily functions and how they're obviously being controlled by um like a mental instability or whatever it is. Again, just you're exhausted, man, you're exhausted. And so obviously you're not trying to be rebellious, but the thing is that you're not having a great time. Ideas don't come to them as easily. You keep looking at content sites and whatever it is, and you're not seeing anything there. Everything kind of looks bland. Like things don't stand out. Like you don't get that spark of ideas of jumping from one thing to another. They become clock watchers, which is true. I mean, when you're tired, you're like, man, like, oh, another 15 minutes till the end of the show, and I am out of here to go and binge watch whatever series so I can get my just like my mind somewhere else for relief, right? They begin to rely more on other people's ideas, which again, yeah, these are big. Like I said, these are big problems, guys. Like, I mean, if you get used to it as well, and you make it through burnout, and you continue on this kind of path, like you're just performing terribly and badly. Their shows just aren't as good as they used to be because there isn't that follow through. There isn't that spark, that passion, that love for what you're doing. What do you do when the ideas stop flowing? I mean, like you got to lower your expectations, so make sure that you obviously are reaching benchmark quality, right? This is again not we're not trying to like man justify burnout and your behavior on, but you got to make it in some other way, and you got to understand that you can't go below benchmarks as it is expected so that you can get through the burnout quicker, and not fight against it, but rather fight like work with it and along with it, should I say. So are you doing the right work for you right now? No, lived are you living a balanced life? Like one way to always kind of refresh yourself is not by going on holiday. It's about the mindset that you take with you on holiday. So you can be at the beach for 3 months, man, but you can come back to work and be exhausted once again after 24 hours, one day at work, 2 days at work. And that's because you didn't take the right actions to be able to deal with any type of burnout or any type of, like I say, exhaustion that you are, like, I mean, you're suffering from. That's what I'm saying to you. You should go watch these beautiful TED talks that I learned that there was various types of burnout, and various types of like traumatic pressure that are pushed on your body. And really the key is identifying which one of them you're currently like being a slave for or being a slave to, and then dealing with that in the correct way. Be inspired by reading, nourish your brain. Audiobook, like listen to audiobooks, uh, like go watch a movie, uh, watch your favorite movies. Always like that. For myself, to always watch something I've watched a billion times and I absolutely love because that kind of like, oh, like I know I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to do it again. Oh, let's go. And you feel better. Like you have a great time. Another thing is also like to game, So for example, put out something that it doesn't matter what type of game it is. So whatever system you're working on, an Xbox or PS or whatever it is, or you're working like you a PC gamer, like this type of stuff, because of there's so many there's problem solving within gaming, yet from an 8-bit game. Um, from like an old Nintendo to the 16-bit Segas to your complete, obviously, I mean, like we're living in these virtual, augmented realities with our gaming right now. Doesn't matter. The thing is that this is a great way to switch off but switch on, and that is it's gaming in general. And it's the last thing I'm going to say about it. Like that is if you're a kid that loved gaming, you would tend to have been a better like a bit better academic, like at school, like you would be able to easily problem solve through maths and science and physics or whatever it may have been. You would be 10 to 1 more active as well, just in general, because again your brain will want kind of stimulant. So you might have been a great artist or a dramatic actor, or you would have played sport, kind of to get that rush and whatever it may be. But you would have done it strategically and not really for fun. You want to be, you obviously would play to win. And so this is why gaming is always a great way to just kind of always like sharpen those motor skills and the problem solving ability of yours. Okay, remember why you came, or why do what you want, take a break, focus on the positive. Like, look, me personally, do like if you're having a negative time, do not focus on the positive. In other, because people always say, "Oh no, man, like oh, you're having a bad time, or you're depressed, or whatever it is." Like think of the great things in life to make you feel better. This is actually a load of crap. It doesn't work because you are neglecting the real the realness of your situation. So to be able to give respect to your current mindset will help you conquer it and conquer it quickly. So if you are in a negative space, like acknowledge it and own it, and it will move so much quicker. Plus, you will also grow and learn if that is a situation that will obviously is calling for that. Not all situations are meant to be purposeful. You just have to go through things in life and just pass. Like go go get to the what is it the don't pass uh don't pass go don't pay $200 monopoly terms. My point is that you got to just get to like the end line of that particular situation. Not carry on too much. It's not Oprah this up too much. Okay. All right. So principles of motivation. So the employee's behavior is functionally related to the way that you treat them. And that is so true. And let me tell you something that in radio, like you live in toxic environments. The station is toxic because the it will trickle top down. So does that say am I saying all managers are terrible? No, it's not that. It's just that because of the very man, this is a very competitive space and it is very unstable. I'm saying to you, like you obviously see the news. You see how every year here in South Africa we're changing and dropping jocks and like just casting them out. We don't find real value in them anymore. And this is just a common culture in South Africa here. So you you have to have very realistic expectations of your boss. If you can see who they are, like Oprah and no, never mind Oprah and Maya Angelou says. Like when a person shows you who they are, believe them, right? So don't think that your boss is having a bad day if they are not the greatest boss in the world. That just means that you need to be wary and also manage your expectations of the work environment that you're in. So be able to find that kind of like that influence and positive influence from different spaces if you can't get it from a positive boss or a positive middle manager or whatever it may be, right? People don't resist their own ideas. It's that's very true. People will live up or down to your expectations of them. Really, that's the worst thing is to sit and actually like pay an expectation to someone because you don't you know uh, again, this is a very personal point of view because we were raised like the Greeks are raised to I mean we have a massive family, so lots of cousins, first cousins, quite large families as well, sisters, brothers, whatever it is. We grew up with our family as friends. It's not to say that I don't have other friends. I've got quite a number of great close friends, but what I'm trying to tell you is that expectations are realistic when you know them like almost like blood. So you know this person inside out. Everything else around your private space is up for debate. And again, not to be negative or to villainize the world around you, I'm saying to you, like, know that people are people. And what you can only fact check is what you get in front of you. So what you see is what you get. Again, Maya Angelou, when a person shows you who they are, trust them, man. You must know the individuals that you are trying to motivate, right? Definitely. I mean, this is also another thing that if you are working be you have to be a team player as well. You'll see that if you join a station, like the issues of a boss, I'm saying, or of management in terms of like just a hierarchy and the control, whatever it is, and it becomes something that you worry about like every other like 3 or 4 7 months, whatever it is, because the people that you work with are really great people, and you'll find that you'll make great connections because you're sitting in the space of creativity that is exponentially pushed and spotlighted because everyone here is a creator, from the news departments to the sales departments, from the technical guys. Everyone is working in this creative space, and they're your people. Like when you talk, they like you make sense and they make sense to you, right? It's this wonderful place, like I say, where you build this community, and you'll build a fellowship with people in the industry across other stations as well. Um, and leave the politics to the people in charge because they are the ones that have to deal with. They will orchestrate it as well because just that is human behavior. And also the structure of a business dictates that there will be some kind of like politics within a business because there's obviously conflict and there is differing opinions, and there are once again, like there are expectations that are just on different pages and so on and so forth. Like I say, don't focus on like the orchestration dictation of the management framework. Focus on the environment that you're actually working in. You'll see that you'll have a really great time in this industry. Productive activity that is ignored will tend to decrease over time. It's true. Achievement and recognition are the top motivators are at all levels. It really is. So self understanding that, look, the job of a broadcaster is to be able to self-analyze every day. Your boss is not so good. The program nor the station manager is supposed to sit there every day and listen to you and tell you, ah, yeah, you must do this in your show, or oh, I like this. No, that's not there. Like they must do that every now and then when they do snoop checks and they check up on you. Like like you have to be able to have the ability to see. Listen, I want to do a great job. I want to do a great show. I'm gonna I'm all in here, and the achievement in terms of a daily thing, like when you go do a show, you do a great show. You go and you pat yourself on the back. You go and do like a lessons learned thing. If you came across couple of difficulties because maybe you are crossing new boundaries or whatever it may be. And recognition is something that we are, there's a lot of people, like for example, the radio awards now open and the thing is that there's a lot of like haters, like they're rigged or they mean nothing. Like if you know you're doing a good job, like why do you need an award? And that's also kind of rubbish for me personally, as someone that went through school. I wanted, I wanted to get my medallions in like being top of my subjects that I was doing. I wanted to be like house captain, which I was, and head boy or whatever it may be. Achievements are great, man, because they allow you to pat yourself on the back for a job well done. And so the thing is recognition. You should allow yourself and expose your work to as many avenues that are available, that might even again recognize and praise you in terms of like your efforts as someone that is changing, and doing something great in the profession that you're uh, dedicating your life to, right? Let's close up with an activity. Divide into small groups. This will obviously be better with us like in person. Um, with a similar radio listening habits and formatic tastes. Each group must select a radio industry great. So, living or dead, doesn't matter. For example, Howard Stern, Alan Freed, Rick Dees, Wolfman Jack, Ryan Seacrest. You can go, those are obviously international greats that really are phenomenal and have been also some of them really phenomenal broadcasters, and research their careers, provided they are able to find the information in an internet search, which you will, because I mean, like what can't you find on the internet, right? Compile and condense the information to a story to tell the class, tell us about someone great, man. Tell us about someone that has just set new benchmarks that are kind of untouchable. The example, for example, I mean, I worked for Ryan Seacrest for 3 years. I did not give him credit at all. Like when I started working for him, I found that the syndicated shows that we had to like. So I did the syndicated show for South Africa, produced for him. I felt that he was bland, But then the thing is that, like, I mean, if only a fool, again, makes a judgment on stuff that they have no knowledge about, which quickly I learned what a really like top-notch broadcaster Ryan was, and he had these little idiosyncrasies, these little like tools and weapons that he would use in interviews, and just the way that he conducted that power in his shows. It's something great to be part of. That was really one of my highlights of my careers. But to watch people like Howard Stern, and we know movies have been made about him. Well, like he made his own movie, which was so great, to show that this man, from the very beginning, when he got on air, like he was going to be controversial. In other words, he would speak of things that others would not. Not necessarily because he's done a lot of I mean, he's done a lot of, let's say, publicity, um, like stunts, and I mean, one of the recent ones were a competition. Like his crass, like I say, in spots. Obviously, there was a competition of men, and whoever had the smallest penis was not going to win. And he had lines and lines and lines of men that came into the show, came to the studio, would were bare naked, and they had a competition for that. And the thing is that it's for that shock value. I mean, if you watch the movie, like he has there's it's not always sexual, but I mean there was a very standout point where there was a lady that he put on a huge speaker, and he increased all the different types of obvious effects on the speaker, on the reverbs or whatever it may be, until it actually caused her to orgasm. And it was these types of like really crass moments are coupled with these really great, like groundbreaking interviews that he does, because he is such a talented presenter, um, that he knows how to create entertainment, and we have a lot of our own as well, as we know. So you're not short of being able to go and find out a little bit more. I'm saying in terms of what exists out there. Okay. And then there's just a recap of the lesson, and then you need to complete activity 8B in next level radio, your textbook, page 323. You may go look at that particular URL so that you can learn a little bit more about burnout. Let's stop there.